everyone's here. So I will call this meeting to order. We'll do a quick roll call vote. Kyle James,
Here.
Amy Marr,
Here.
Sue Robbins,
Here.
Brian Morgan.
Still connecting.
And Colin Roy is here. Brian, can you hear us? So, okay.
I think you might be connecting to AirPods, and that's not a fun process. So.
Oh, is that what's happening? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sympathetic to that.
Well, we wait for Brian. Evan, are you able to share your screen? Do you have all the things you need to do that?
No, you have to enable that for me.
Okay.
Brian, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Hi, Brian, and welcome to your first CIPC meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
All right, so we're gonna start the meeting tonight with Town Administrator going over the capital plan with us one more time. So it's a great meeting to join because you'll get to see everything that we're planning for the year.
Sounds good.
So I'll let you take it away, Evan, if you're able to now.
It's working.
Okay.
Okay, everybody can see my screen. Uh-oh. There we go. Can you see my screen now?
Just says
So
your
your-
screen
Your
sharing.
screen share is loading. It says, I've never seen that before.
I swear Zoom is acting funny tonight. It was taking me a long time to log in.
Well, there's enough of us using it in town tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, there's at least 3 or 4 meetings on Zoom tonight.
All right, I
There it
can
is.
see that. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Great.
Okay. So if you recall, we had met at our last meeting and talked about a capital plan that looks a little bit different than the capital plan I'm presenting tonight. Why is it doing all this? And the reason for that is that we wound up finding an error in our original sheet or our original pass at our financial software, and wound up having to scale back the amount of money that we were projecting to spend. So nothing really catastrophic, but some things we did push off a little bit, and I'll walk you through what those are. So let me go. Did that just change for you guys, or are you still on the same PDF I opened up?
They're flipping back and forth. So we see the one that's highlighted right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Make sure that because my video is now frozen, so I'll just muddle through it, I guess. So the things that I've highlighted are things that we have removed from the capital plan that was part of that initial revision. And so the things we took off was the addition of a senior center minivan. And we have removed that because we've requested that out of ARPA. And it seemed to be met favorably, and we believe that it'll be funded through that process. Replace engine 1. So we funded this. This is my first year, so fiscal 22. We have funded it and still have not received the truck. We probably won't receive the truck till the end of this year, middle of this year, maybe end of the year. Fire trucks are at least 18 months out. So we already have money in that account to pay the first year of the ban. And so we are going to push that out and not fund it for this year. Truck 48 that you see here, for 260,000. That is, something that we were unclear about, worked with Highway, and, this truck has also been replaced. It shows up in our capital plan because the majority of that funding came from the Volvo Clean Diesel revolving fund that they have for when they juiced their fuel efficiencies and had to buy back all of those diesel Volkswagens, and then create a fund to help municipalities buy newer equipment that is more fuel efficient, that is diesel fueled. And so we've already funded that through other means. We reduced this amount. Did all that just change for you guys, or are you seeing the same thing?
We're seeing like a gray block over. Okay, yeah, but I think we're still seeing the same thing.
Okay, it went away on me, so I apologize. It was a glitchy night, I guess. And we moved the plumbing HVAC repairs out of here, and I'll talk about both of those when we get to the new plan. We also removed Miriam Road culvert. So this we were going to fund the design out of here. And I think that our new plan is to fund that out of Chapter 90 and the road stabilization account. So let me move over to the plan, and we'll talk about what that looks like. All right, so here's the updated plan. I hope you're all seeing. So we've got the replacement of a Ferris lawnmower at $35,000 for the cemetery commission. I'll just go through really quick. I know we talked about this last time, but this is the Hennessy Culvert Bridge. This is 46 Adams Road. We have an egress into some conservation land that we also mow for wildlife habitat. And that culvert washed away in like the one heavy rain we got last year. Unfortunately, we can't just put that culvert back in because that culvert is an old farm culvert that does not meet the standards of DEP and the wetlands conservation. So this is a 15-foot span aluminum pre-built bridge with a open bottom, which is pretty much best practice. It also is rated to carry an ambulance, so that and a brush truck. So if we do get an issue back in that conservation area, we'll be able to get to those folks that are back there.
Evan, I'm just gonna jump in real quick. Can everybody just mute? Because I'm getting feedback when Evan's talking.
Okay. So back down here, Station 2 renovation, $100,000. This is continuation of the project that we funded last year. It's a $200,000 renovation that we split into two parts. The Engine 3 lease is something that we obviously had already had in the queue. And that is just us paying down that lease. Same thing with the fire pumper lease. That is the last payment in fiscal 24. So that's good. That falls off. And then replace the fire inspection vehicle. So this is the vehicle that the captain drives around in, and it is a older Ford Expedition, and it's all rotting out and not worth the amount that it would cost to replace it. So what I believe the plan is there is that truck is going to be phased out. The chief's truck is going to go to the captain, and the chief is going to get a new truck. He is going to get a quad cab pickup truck to replace that. Amy?
Yeah, so I don't know how much trucks cost. So I'm wondering, like, what's special about it? Is it electric? Is it like 90,000? Just seems like a lot for a truck to me because I don't have.
Right. So the thing you got to keep in mind is that a truck these days is, let's say $60,000 for an F-350 quad cab, right? And they're probably north of that, to be honest with you. But we get better pricing than the general public. But then you have to upfit the truck, right? Which is lights, light bars. None of the equipment in either of the other vehicles can be carried over because the model years don't match. It's that whole rigmarole. And so, that's the upfitting, that's the radios, that's the so on and so forth. So the truck itself is not 90,000, but when you put all of it together, that's what they're anticipating.
Can I ask another question?
Absolutely, yeah.
So we lease the other vehicles, and I'm wondering, is leasing, like, and I get the scale is much bigger.
Right.
Do we not lease a truck like this because we have to fit it, or because we have to do all those things to
No,
it?
I think there's lease opportunities. A lot of towns do that with cruisers. I think my general approach is that, if it's under, a couple $100,000 and we don't have a bond rolling off, then we don't really want to lease because we don't want to pay the interest on those smaller purchases that we can just, fit into a capital plan and fund. One of the things that Mary and I have been discussing that, this is very preliminary. One of the tactics we like to do is that we like to issue 5-year bonds for capital and roll packages together, right? And so that every 5 years, you then have a bond roll off and then add a bond, right? And you want to do that at, say, 1.2 to 1.5 million to be able to leverage your capital money. And so that helps with things like fire trucks and dump trucks and things that, you know that there's a bond horizon. When that bond rolls off, you rebond for the same amount, so on and so on and so on. So we are looking at doing something like that. I think that with the cost of this truck, I don't think we need to do that right now. I'd rather just pay for it and be done. Kyle?
When we sell the old vehicles, where does that money go?
It goes back to the general fund.
Okay.
Yep, and then winds up as free cash. We do sometimes trade them, but it depends on what offer we get. So, and how bad the condition is. So some of our very old cruisers that are, just run into the ground, we might decide that even though we're gonna maybe get $1,000 less than we would in the open market, the trade is a much more straightforward process than putting it on Municipid or Gov Deals, auctioning it off, and then the person doesn't show up because they were, it's a whole thing. So we usually wait until we're pretty close to making the purchase and then see what the market looks like, right? I've sold 10-year-old Ford Explorers for like $7,000-8,000 when the dealer was going to give us 3. But then I've also decided to sell them on my own and get $1,500 because that's what the market's carrying right now. So we really, it's kind of each case is a little bit different.
Great. Thank you.
I do love selling stuff at auction though, and making some money. So always willing to go that route. If there's no more questions on that, I'll move down. So we have our planning board. That's the master plan. That's the last phase of that. That's $100,000 that we phased over 3 years to complete the master plan. This TASER program is a new program, and I don't know if it will live here in perpetuity or if I will be able to bring this into the operational budget. The operational budget is a place I'm more comfortable with it, but I am still making refinements there and will probably throughout the spring, small adjustments. We have tasers, and the TASER, the company that is TASER has pretty much the market cornered on tasers. And what happens is let's say you buy 10 tasers and you get a pretty good price on them and everybody has them and everything's good. But then just like all other technology, within 2 years, they're obsolete. Something has happened somewhere in the country that increases our liability if we continue to use the older tasers. The state then gives us better guidelines that says you have to use the tasers more to make sure people are trained properly, so on and so forth. So what we're looking at doing this year is entering into a contract with TASER where they it's a lease, right? So we're leasing the tasers from them. And we are then getting all the cartridges, all the maintenance, all the replacements as part of that deal. So it's a complete service package. And then at the end of the 5-year swing, you trade them in and get new ones. Now, of course, if something is defective in between there, or there's some kind of a design glitch, they owe us new tasers as well. So it's a slightly more expensive route, I think, but it also insulates us from those variances that happen with this type of equipment. And it's real hard to predict because I don't know what's gonna happen with taser, 2 years from now. So, but nice thing here is we, smash a taser, run a taser over, they give us a new taser, and we're good. Not that that's actually happened. That's just a hypothetical. Interesting fact for a little digression. Officers are issued handguns that they can take home, but tasers cannot be taken home by law, which I find to be fascinating. Since they're billed as the less lethal option. But anyways, we can go into that some other time if you'd like to go down that rabbit hole with me. Go ahead, Colleen.
I have a question. So the taser program, if you're trying to put it in the operational budget, however, if we do join a rec, how does that affect this? Would that go into there? Would they buy that? No. Okay.
Totally separate. Not radio related, and not something that would be part of that. This is something we'd continue to own, just like firearms and bulletproof vests and all the things that we buy for the station. Those will still be in our side of the house.
Okay.
Right. So down to the schools. We have our fire alarm panel at North Grafton Elementary School. This is the panel that consistently calls the fire department, which is not good. It is original to the building, which I think is the 1970s, if I remember correctly. We can certainly pull up that fact sheet when we get there if we need to. The library roof at Millbury Street at $70,000. Interior camera upgrades at Grafton Middle School. That is $31,000. Upgrade the camera system at the high school. That's $200,000. ADA compliance. So we have a big nut in the plan for ADA compliance, and the town has a similar process, and we've been working our way through it kind of piecemeal. So right now we've plugged this in at 100,000. It's not where we want to be. I think that in the coming, few weeks with Jay and I working together on some other things, maybe that number changes, but we're at least having something in that. And I also want to point out that right now it says ADA compliance modifications to the Grafton High School. That is where I parked the money for the purposes of the capital plan. That is likely going to be spread across schools as projects are most economically viable when you're working in the same trade. And so that makes it tidy for the capital plan until Jay, Mary, Anita, and I can figure out a better way to capture that data in the capital plan. All right. And lastly, they have some building security upgrades for $85,000. Amy?
So I'm not sure how this is how and when this list goes to the public.
Mhm. The 18th.
But I think from a communications perspective, I think it would be good to either not have a school listed at all or to list GMS, which is more accurate and more in need.
Okay.
There's definitely some feelings around the high school being a brand new building.
Yep.
In fact, it's over 10 years old. And I've encountered that with some of the people that I talk to. How can we not be ADA compliant when the high school was finished in 2012? Well,
Right.
Things change.
Things change, right?
It's just a harder sell. It gets people riled up.
Sure.
So I would request that either change to GMS or just take the school out if that's even possible.
Oh yeah, it's all possible. And I would think that I think that what we're going to get to is that we don't have any schools noted. And then it's just a like a lump
It's
of
gonna be,
money.
yeah, it's gonna be the biggest need depending on, you
Right.
know, what students we have in which buildings.
Exactly.
So if we have kids moving up to the middle school in the fall that are gonna need these modifications,
Yes.
it's more likely it's gonna get spent there.
Right. And I again, for the purposes of tonight, I just clicked a button to move it over so that we could visualize it, but we can certainly workshop
Okay,
that a little bit farther.
great. Thank you.
So the next one is Norcross Park playground replacement. So if you're familiar with this, this is Norcross Park that's on North Street. And there is a playground right off of the parking lot. We did lose a municipal tree that fell into the playground and destroyed one of the pieces of equipment. Rather than just take our insurance money for that one piece of equipment and redo what was already there in a park that we know is not accessible, we are looking to take that money that we got from insurance, which was $60,000, couple it with $100,000 of capital money, plus some money that we'll request out of the community preservation to redo that park at that playground as an accessible structure. So again, just like the schools going after their ADA things when the opportunity is right, we're trying to do the same thing on our side of the house. We have been very successful in adding quite a bit of accessibility in the last, say 4 years. And this is just a continuation of that mindset of not replacing things with non-accessible structures. So next piece is a pickup truck with a snowplow. This is for the cemetery. No, excuse me, the sewer department. So this won't factor into our final amount because that $60,000 is going to come out of the enterprise fund. And lastly, this is something that I added. This is a $10,000 ask for Grafton. Oh, Ani, I'm doing a presentation here, pal. Okay, thank you. So this is the Grafton Historic Society building envelope and painting project. So that is the old South Grafton Library that the Historic Society now inhabits. They do need some exterior work to that building, and by their lease, the town is responsible for that. And so that's that. It's really not sexy at all. It's just scraping and painting and replacing some wood. Amy?
So seeing that on the list reminded me of another building that I know needs similar attention, the South Grafton Community House, which I do
Yes.
not want to sell.
Okay.
I think it's lovely.
Yep.
Where it's not on the plan, and I'm not saying it should be or shouldn't be or anything. I'm just wondering where we are with that.
We funded that out of the ARPA money.
Aha. Okay.
So
cool.
that work should start in the spring.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it. So that is it for that portion of capital, but let me jump off of this for a second. And share one other screen.
Brian, do you have any questions at all?
No, not yet. Just trying to soak it all in and get my head in it.
Nice.
Okay. So you now all should be seeing ClearGov. Is it super small for you? Or is it I've never run into this particular issue. Everything is on my screen is extremely small.
It is small for us too. Yeah.
Yeah, let me See if I can. Oh, geez. Now we're at 500%. Hold on. Hold on. Is that better and viewable?
Uh, yeah, it's good.
Okay. I can adjust if we need to. So what you're looking at here is in our capital budgeting software called a scenario. And this is where I build the actual list that you're looking at. And I do that by putting in the amount of money that we have in different accounts, and then telling it what I want to include, and also adjusting the funding source so that the money comes out of the account that I want it to. So in this case, you'll see that we funded, we had $1,384,000 in the capital stabilization account, and we funded $1,376,000 out of that account. So pretty close, right? So less than $10,000 away. And we can, you can come over this and see where each thing comes, but it's actually easier for me to show you the things that aren't in there, because if you come down to free cash, you'll see that we have $1,777,000. However, just to keep in mind, we only want to spend a third of that or less. And the reason we want to do that is because that impacts our bond rating. And so we are spending $324,000 out of there. And that leaves a little bit on the table. And I think that the rest of this conversation is going to be, as we go through the budget process, do we utilize that to fund something like, more ADA or something like that? Do we move that money into municipal stabilization to continue to bolster that account? Do we move that money into OPEB to start to try to build our huge deficit that we have there? And Brian, OPEB is other post-employment benefits. So it's basically pension funding, right? So we have all these liabilities that are unfunded. And how do we fund that for all the retirees moving forward? And so Grafton's, last time I looked at it, Grafton's nut was 84 million. And we have $310,000. So we're a ways off on that. So I'm always looking to, squirrel money away into there if I can. And so that'll be part of that ongoing conversation. Part of that conversation needs to be that we closed less free cash this year than we had anticipated because of inflation. And we're on track to see that trend again in this fiscal year as costs are more and more difficult to control. That means we're going to close less and less money to free cash. So do we protect that balance a little bit for, potentially catastrophic events? Sue.
Yes, I wanted to know, did you and Mary talk about that free cash money, splitting it, putting in OPEB in the stabilization
Yes.
so that we could put a little bit away for OPEB?
Yes. Yep. Both of those. I do want to, I'm trying to preserve in the budget. We did put, I think we're still at $50,000 in OPEB, if you recall. And the plan is to continually build that into the operating budget over the years so that we can, we more and more and more, but also take advantage of these opportunities where we could split them, say,
Right.
between municipal stabilization and OPEB. You'll see municipal stabilization is at 4.2 million. We don't project taking anything out of there currently. Other is the sewer enterprise fund, which is the $60,000 truck I talked about. And community preservation, I don't have a calculated part of the capital plan that shows what they have versus what we would be requesting. The last thing I wanted to show you is in our dashboard here. So this is the visualization of everything that we did. So we're talking about 21 capital requests at 1.76 million. Realistically, because we are funding that one truck out of the sewer enterprise fund, it's really just 1.7 million flat. and 20 capital requests. But again, even though it's a different funding source, we want to capture that in our capital plan and be able to document and show where our money is coming from and where our money is going. You will also see that one of the things that we try to do, and I've worked with Jay on this, is we try to get the capital funding. Sorry, I have a 6-year-old that apparently doesn't want to go to bed. So we have attempted to always, split the baby right down the middle. That is obviously hard to do because you've got these blocks of money and different requests. So if you look, currently speaking, the schools are 44% of our capital spend, and the town is the remaining amount. The thing that always throws a fly in the ointment for Grafton currently is that the town's historic position was to fund fire truck leases out of the capital account, which is this 22% spend over here. And if those were allocated into a bond payment or a lease line in the operational budget, that split between town and schools would be more 50-50 or 60-40. So I think we've done a pretty good job of getting us to some middle ground there. The total school spend is $766,000, which is significant to be moving that amount of money through the capital plan towards the schools. Because I think if you look historically, that wasn't always the case. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm happy to take more questions or drill down on anything if folks would like that. Colleen?
So I know it's really difficult to capture CPA projects in here because a lot of it they don't know until town meeting, but the playground on Norcross seems like a good opportunity to try to start capturing the little bits that we do know.
Yes.
And we know
Yep.
what we're going to be requesting. Is it makes sense to put that in this plan just so people can start seeing that?
Yes, it does 100%. And that will make it into the plan as we finalize. We just haven't firmed up what that delta is going to be yet.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, who raised their hand? Oh,
Amy, it's usually Amy. I just see the hand.
I
go
have
up and go,
many
Amy.
questions. So I want to do. So I would like to ask questions about 2 items that I don't see on either list, just to get a sense of where they stand.
Okay.
I know we had George Hill Road design work in this year's budget.
Yes.
Is that work complete? Do we have a sense of what's going to happen in the future and how much money we're going to need for that project yet? Or are we still, is that going to happen in the spring?
That will happen in the spring. We're looking at our final hydrology. I was supposed to have this before January 1. So we are a little behind on receiving that work product. No one's going to want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyways. My personal approach to George Hill Road would likely be a debt exclusion for that amount. Because I don't want, that's going to eat up a ton of what we have for capital, because it's still going to be $4.5 to $5 million is our projected spend on that, with the amount of drainage infrastructure that road needs. It is extremely wet. I just did 2 projects up there that were culvert projects to try to relieve some of that, which is little consolation to the folks that live up there. But in the short term, we did make some progress there.
Good news, I guess, or depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
My other question is about the library roof, the library cupola.
Yeah.
Do we have any sense of how we can get that fixed in the next year before it gets worse?
Yeah, so I am actively working on that, and just received 2 days ago some plans and cost estimates. So the short answer is we're closer to knowing what that is. and therefore I'm closer to figuring out how to pay for it. But I'm just not 100% there yet. I will be by the time I present to FinCom next week. So.
Okay.
I,
Thank you.
I think it's looking rosier than it did originally. So that's good.
Under 100,000?
Yep, that's the current projection. Yeah, I think I'm hoping to be somewhere in the 60-ish, but don't quote me on that.
I'm quoting.
Because there's a lot more at play where we're negotiating with the insurance company and doing some other things. So I'm always trying to maximize that other revenue if we can. So
Great.
So to build on that, capturing projects and funding sources, is there a way to build in the library capital campaign projects into this? Especially if it's going towards things like,
So I can always create another funding source, but I would be cautious about trying to capture what their balance is because we don't control the balance. So we could certainly put a capital campaign line as a funding source that shows, that okay, the cupola is being funded through that and it's allocated to that. But I would be hesitant to try to build in a balance number, if that makes sense.
yeah, I don't necessarily need to see the balance number, but to just show that there is another funding source available, and to show that's the whole point of this plan, is to be as comprehensive as possible. And even highlight some of the projects that they are doing with it, which is nice.
Yes, I agree.
Evan, are they required to submit a town report, that committee?
I don't believe so. As a nonprofit, I think that they have to report via a 990 to Morningstar. I think is where we'll see that data.
All right.
Kyle?
The other thing I saw that fell off that I know was so that's something that got a lot of agreement last time we met was the town clerk ADA, making that desk or window ADA compatible. Was that a casualty of the budget going down, or?
No, that's more of we've been doing that work separately. I've been doing those through earmarks and grants. So right now I'm doing the assessor's office. They were the next one in the queue. The thing with the clerk's office is that it's actually a more complex project than the other windows that we've been doing.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely still going to be done. But I am going to go after another earmark to try to offset that cost.
Great.
Earmark and grant. So, it delays it a little bit, but it also, hopefully we don't pay for it. So,
Yeah. That's
you
the
know,
goal.
so yeah, the assessor's office should be starting within the next, say, 30 days and probably be a month project. So on the lower level, that only leaves the clerk's office, Board of Health, and my office if that winds up being done. I'm not sure that we're gonna go that route, or we're gonna do some other kind of doorway widening or something like that. So
Great, thank you for the update.
absolutely.
All right, any other questions? Amy?
It's not a question. Speaking of things that kind of fell off the list. And I don't think I said this in the last meeting. There was at one time a wheelchair van for the schools on the list, and that's all taken care of. So we are not buying a new. That's not something that got eliminated from this list. I don't want people to think, well, we don't care
Right.
about. The van that we have was able to be repaired for a much lower amount. So
Okay.
we don't need to buy a new van. Although it would have been fun to buy a new electric van. It would have been expensive. So I'm glad we could put it off a little bit longer.
Yes. Thank you for mentioning that.
So the Council on Aging will be okay for another year without the minivan?
No, I'm gonna try to get that money out of ARPA in February.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I got a note here saying.
Which should probably they'll get it before they would get it if they waited for the capital plan.
Right.
So,
Right.
that's the hope. And I still have time, Sue, that if in February ARPA doesn't decide to fund that, which I don't have any real concern of, everyone kind of thought that was a good idea. I still have time to go back, make adjustments, and then, come back to your group and come back to FinCom and say, do we want to call an audible here and add that? Because I do think it's something that's valuable for the senior population.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that was a lovely presentation. And does everybody agree? Do you guys have any other additional recommendations or concerns you want to address? Because it's going to FinCom
I
next.
just have a question on Soap Hill, I mean, not Soap Hill. Yeah, Soap Hill Road, the culvert there. Where is that money coming out of?
Soap Hill
No,
Road.
Not Soap Hill,
Miriam?
Miriam, no. The road that comes up to George Hill from
No?
140.
Stowe Road, the one that's being
Stowe
worked on.
Road,
now?
I'm sorry, Stowe Road, I got my S's mixed up. Stowe Road, yes, that culvert is going to be, where is that money coming from?
I believe that's Chapter 90 money.
Okay. Is that ever gonna get done?
Yeah, I think they're starting some preliminaries right now. I think I'll have to go back and double check. That might also be partly grant funded. Paul had got a culvert grant for like $500,000. So can't remember if that is the road or not, Sue, but I will figure that out before I talk to you again next
Yeah.
week.
Well, the road has been closed, and I
Yeah.
think it's been closed for a while anyway. But I'm glad that it's being worked on. I'm just wondering where all the money was coming from for it. So.
Yeah, I
Okay.
hope it's Chapter 90 and grant funding because I didn't figure anything out. But yeah, that's one area I will tell you that having worked in other places, your DPW is extremely good at going after state, federal, and grant funds. They do a fantastic job with that.
Excellent. Well, if there are no other questions or comments, we can let Evan go. I'm sure he has 8 other meetings to attend this evening.
Just one. I gotta go read some books.
Excellent.
That's good.
Yeah. Yep.
Good
Bedtime.
night, Moon.
We're past that now. We're
Oh, you passed that?
We've been reading honestly a ton of books about poop.
I read it. I read it when reading.
Oh,
Amy.
okay.
I read it already.
You read it
Yeah.
already, Sue?
How
Yep.
could you possibly?
I just
read
got it
already?
yesterday.
So
You
long.
ordered it on Kindle and I got it before you went to the store and got it. So
I got it delivered at like 8 p.m. the day it came out. So that's
No.
probably why.
I'm done. I'm done with it.
Wow. Rapid.
Yeah.
No, I'm reading books about animal poop and what eats animal poop and what you can make out of animal poop. It's a whole, I got like 10 poop books and that's all that the little one wants to
I've got
learn
some,
about. Yeah, you can make paper out of elephant poop. You can
I've
make
got
elephants
elephant
out of-
poop paper I got from Cambodia. If you would like to share it with the girls,
Okay,
I can bring it in and show them.
That's
Okay.
pretty cool.
that is cool. Yeah, so that's what we're into right now. So that's
Yeah.
great.
Nice. Well, you have fun with that.
I
and,
will.
Thank you again for coming in and presenting. That was really nice.
All right,
Thank
thank you for having me. And any questions, always feel free to reach out.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Okay.
Evan.
Bye bye.
It was unfortunate.
Ellen just-
I knew that was going to happen. And before I could open my mouth, he was gone. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Do you think
Yeah.
Ryan will figure it out? I don't have his
Hopefully.
phone number to text him.
I mean, we do have to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah,
Yep.
we do. I don't have his text to you.
No, I don't. I'll email him afterwards just to get
Did
that.
my
but
niece shirt?
I laughed at your shirt. Did you see me laugh?
When he started George Hill, she just.
She leaned back and I saw it.
Underestimate me.
That'll be fun.
fun.
I have a sign, one of those little wooden signs that says that.
I've got a t-shirt too with it.
Where's the agenda?
So the only other thing on the agenda was to approve the minutes that Greg sent out. Were you guys able to read the December 12th minutes? So we can
Yes.
approve that real quick. I can take a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Oh, we have to do the thing. We have to do the thing.
Oh, call.
Oh, okay. Kyle,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Colleen, aye. Okay. Even if we're all on, I guess I'm
Yes.
not on Zoom enough anymore. All right, Amy, keeping me in line. I appreciate it.
Sorry
What's
about that.
happening behind you?
My Alexa is detecting that Ainsley just left to go pick up her sister.
Oh, nice. All right, so those minutes are approved. Next thing would be discuss upcoming meeting dates. Oh, Brian's back.
It's back. Sort of.
Yeah.
He's still trying to.
Yeah, those AirPod connections are a doozy.
We'll get headphones in the capital plan next year for him.
The fun things when you have to try to connect in an office and everyone has them in, and so you're just like,
FinCom,
who's picking up?
FinCom meets next week, the 18th.
Yep.
So
Hey, Brian, welcome back.
Thank you. I was a little confused. I thought I got the boot already.
We all did, and then we all jumped back in. So we
Give me
just,
1 second. My 2-year-old's throwing a fit right now.
it's okay, we're almost ending, so if you want to make a motion to adjourn, we can do that.
Wait. Whoa.
Yes, Amy.
So we need to set a meeting date
Mhm.
because we have to discuss the bylaw.
Oh, right.
So Greg reminded me of that, I mean, the deadline is like gonna be over the summer for them to put it on the warrant in October. If assuming the committee would like to make the change in this round of changes as opposed to having a separate motion another time.
Yeah.
But
Well, I
basically, the way we're doing the process right now, just so Brian understands what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The way the bylaws say we're supposed to do this task of advising the TA is not what we're doing right now currently. And I think we need to have a discussion about what the role should be and fix the bylaw, because right now we're technically not doing what we said we'd do when we created the new bylaw 2 years ago. Was it 2?
Yeah,
it's
something like
two.
that. It was like 2 years ago.
Yeah. So we can't discuss it now because it's not on the agenda, but we do need to have a meeting to discuss it. And I don't know if that means roping Evan in or not. I know he's busy. It's budget season. I know he's, he doesn't have a lot of time to waste.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the committee wants to do, but I think we do need to have a meeting.
So I know Mondays are difficult if we're gonna have Evan come in. His Mondays are kind of booked up. And then I know that works best for our committee and especially for Greg, who for sure should be part of this conversation. So,
So
I mean,
may I just suggest we reread the bylaw over? And
yeah,
then have a discussion as to if we want some things changed and what they would be, and if nothing, then we can just pass that on to Evan and see what he thinks. So,
yeah, that works. And even if we have changes, just pass the changes on to him and let him,
Yeah.
respond back.
right,
Okay.
that way he doesn't have to meet with us
Yeah.
with his schedule.
How does Tuesday, January 31st look for everybody? To meet on Zoom.
Miraculously.
So far, so good.
Yeah, same.
Okay, great. I will schedule it for then in hopes that the other members have that flexibility, but knowing I have a quorum is a solid move. So that'll work that day.
Can I just ask why Zoom?
I feel like Zoom has been very successful this committee, but if you guys want to change that, we can go in person as well.
I'm just laughing at the technical problem we just had. I don't know. I
True.
mean, we haven't met as a committee in person since I've been on it, I believe. I don't know. I
Yep,
just.
Since I've been
We-
on it.
We tried anytime pre-COVID and then even after COVID, anytime we try to do it in person, we could never get a quorum. I
Oh.
can't tell you the number of times I showed up to a CIPC meeting and then we had to walk away because a quorum didn't show up. And it was a huge waste of time. And I've never experienced a quorum issue with Zoom. But I'm open to trying again.
I say we just stick with Zoom because it ends at the end of March anyway. We can't do Zoom anymore.
Yeah,
or
we're gonna
meeting.
have to move. We're gonna have to move to in person anyhow.
Right, but let's just continue until then.
All right.
And it's nice having it recorded too. It's easy. You can go back and refer to it if you wanted to, and that's difficult to do when you're in person on this committee. We don't always get recorded, so.
Falling apart in somebody's house.
I think it's mine. The dog's chasing toys.
Oh, is
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a
I'm
friend.
like Joe fell off a ladder. I was a little.
I wouldn't put it past him, but no. And we're getting a second dog too by the next meeting. So I'll make sure then the new dog makes an appearance.
Oh, fun.
Yes.
All right, so we'll schedule it for January 31st,
And
or maybe one of our
Colleen,
last.
you want to send out the bylaw because Brian probably doesn't know what we're talking about at all.
Yep,
Yes, please.
And Brian, if you want to listen to Finance Committee, because Evan's going to be also presenting to the Finance Committee on the 18th, the capital plan and the budget. So that kind of gives you a little bit more understanding, hopefully.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. I'll listen to that.
Yeah, you can just zoom in on that.
oh, that one's in person too, so that's kind of fun, because a lot of people.
Ooh, cool.
Go up with popcorn.
We could.
All right, so is everybody good if we adjourn now?
Yep.
Perfect.
Motion to adjourn.
Yep.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. All those by roll call, Kyle,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Sue,
aye.
Colleen, aye. All right, good night, everybody.